Yeah, there we
Yeah.
go. Brilliant. Okay. I'm going to mute everybody just because there's a wee bit of feedback on the line. Right. Okay. Brilliant. All right. So there's 30 of us. That is wonderful. And I'll continue to keep a wee eye on the chat. Hi, Miles. Good to see you. I'll keep a wee eye on the participants and let anybody in that needs let in. Okay. Let me see. Going to have to, yeah. All right. Wonderful. Yeah. All right. Wonderful. Leonie, are you muted?
I'm muted, but I can see Zoe. Are you logged in on two different devices? I think they're acting with one another. I can see
Brilliant.
two screens for you, Zoe. Maybe that might be it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a million. Because I could hear feedback and I couldn't understand where the feedback was from. Okay, how are we doing this? Oh, I would say gorgeous evening, but it is not a gorgeous evening, I can tell you, in Donegal. Wherever you are, Miranda, I can see blue skies. It is not what it is here, I can tell you. We are winter. Can you see we are autumn and rainy and windy and miserable. So it's a lovely evening to be with you, but it's not a weather lovely evening, but it's still good to be here and I appreciate you all being here with me. So tonight we're going to look a bit, we're not going to look a wee anything, we're going to look very deeply into this idea of safe embodiment. It's very interesting because all of you guys that are here because you know my work. So we're going to take a complete kind of view of it from a personal view of it. And I'm going to also let you hear a little bit of safe embodiment in action, which will be really gorgeous to hear from a client's perspective, if we can get the videos and all lined up. So really going to look at safe embodiment from a client or personal perspective. So this is a closed group. There's nobody new here. You've been in my world for a wee while if you're here. So I know most of you. So you know how this works. Use the chat if you have any questions. Don't be afraid to ask them. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Leona is here tonight with me, so she'll keep an eye on the chat, and if there's anything I need to know, then she'll draw my attention to that. So there's not much housekeeping in this because it's just what I will call a little mini session. And it's the first time I've done anything like this in an absolute age. So it's so lovely to do it without any kind of real pressure. So safe embodiment. Why do I have a bee in my bonnet about safe embodiment? And you're all going to be rolling your eyes because you know rightly, right? Because you've heard the same old rubbish from me. The field has exploded with the idea of embodiment, and rightly so, because there is so much value in embodiment. There is so much value in working in the body. And there's so much, I mean, it is advanced therapeutic practice to be in the body. There's no doubt about that. But the difficulty that I have is the way in which most people introduce this as, yes, it's the Holy Grail, but it is a very difficult path to that Holy Grail. It's not sunshine and flowers. It's not ease. It's not a one size fits all. It's not it every single person that comes to you, and I know most of you are therapeutically trained here, everybody that comes to you comes from their own phenomenological embodied framework. Not one person will be the same. And what I want to try and do tonight is open up that conversation about what is it that happens in us? What is it that happens to us that creates this incapacity to be embodied? You know, it seems like the entire internet is shouting about embodiment, embodiment, embodiment. And there's really nobody shouting about the incapacity to become embodied or to be embodied or to stay embodied. And the incapacity is actually really where the rubber meets the road, because without understanding incapacity and the reasons for disembodiment, it's really, 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 really hard to get all your ducks in a row therapeutically, to get all your skills organized, to get all your tools organized, to get all your structures organized, to get your contracting organized, to get all of the things that support you organized. You are going to assume that this is a straight road to embodiment, which I know none of you here do. But, you know, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for a long, long, arduous therapeutic journey, and you're setting your client up for the same. And it's not fair. That's not what we want to do. So, all of that said, my rant about the field, all of that said, let's kind of rewind a wee bit, and go back to what is it that creates disembodiment? What happens to us that creates disembodiment? Well, the big one is trauma. We all know that trauma creates disembodiment. Trauma, something that is so overwhelming in us, something that's too big to hold, something that's something that's too much to be in the body, sensations, emotions, you know, nervous system activation, stuff that we can't hold, that creates trauma in us, creates the disconnection. So basically what is very natural in children, which is what we call this unity capacity, then is severed, disrupted, disjointed. All of those words apply. And so when we experience trauma, then the body is not a safe place to be. The world outside isn't safe in trauma. But more than it being an outside job, it's an inside job, because it's how we experience the world in our body. So therefore, the trauma creates a fear of the self, a fear of the body, a fear of this inner world. But there's hundreds of things that create that. It's not just trauma, but, you know, can we, have you ever heard the term, let me know in the chat, have you ever heard the term low effort families? You ever heard that, Paulina? I don't know where the origins or the science of it is, or if there is any actual science of it. But low effort families is a great description of families that are there physically, but aren't in relational efforting. For all sorts of reasons. Maybe there's narcissism, maybe there's emotional immaturity, but there's an emotional kind of incapacity in the system for all sorts of millions and millions of reasons. And what we know is that when you're born into this low effort system, everything becomes drama, everything becomes too much, any emotional quality that you would bring or try to articulate would be rubbished, would be belittled, would be made a big deal. You'd be, you know, so it's kind of just, they're trying to basically quash your internal responses in order to maintain the family system. And there's little or no emotional or relational effort. And there's lots of reasons for that. Maybe there's a pathology in the parental system, in that there's narcissism, or there's, you know, it's a pathological narcissism, or maybe there's just too much trauma, or maybe there's just too much going on, or maybe there's a survival mechanism, like there's not enough food in the table, there's not enough, you know, there's not enough money in the bank, there's a war happening around, or there's stuff, big survivalist stuff, that means that the system cannot attend to those inner needs. Well, what happens there? Maybe it's not the one-off event that shuts off or severs the connection to the body. Maybe it's just a persistent, consistent, no co-regulation that sends the message that says you're no longer it's no longer safe to be in this body. And then if we look at, parents with emotional immaturity, young parents, old parents, older parents that actually have never had any co-regulation, never had unity, don't understand what emotion is, don't understand the impact of it, don't understand the God-given nature of it, and don't know what to do with it, and want to placate it and please it and stuff it and wrap it in cotton wool and all of that stuff. That creates the same message fundamentally, which is we don't know what to do with your inner world. We're going to shut this down. Yes, Paulina, dysregulation is a disrespect. If you kick off, then you're being disrespectful in a hierarchical or patriarchal system, for sure. All of that. All of that to say, right, without getting into too big of theoretical words or theoretical concepts, there's millions of reasons, more than no reason, for us to declare that our bodies are unsafe. Many reasons over multiple times, across multiple time frames, we learn that this internal experience is not safe. Now you add that to the fact that there is different frequency, different emotional frequency, different interoceptive frequency, phenomenologically inside each person. What does that mean? It means that we all feel, but we don't all feel with the same intensity. And that there is these deep experiences of the body that some people have. Some people have these mild experiences, and some people have these very, very kind of light experiences, interoceptive experiences. And it's so phenomenological and it's so different that not at the upper end of the light experience of the self, there is really nothing in there to pay attention to. And so you get these people that are disconnected because there is no data in the body. And at the other end, you get these people who are disconnected because it's actually a whirlwind in there and I don't know what to do. And I don't know that that is safe and it's not safe for me. And so what we have all of these types of people, types of emotional ways of being, unique experiences as children. I mean, the uniqueness, does everybody understand what I'm trying to say about the uniqueness? Like, right, say if we took a straw poll here, right? Many of us, there's 33 people here. How many of you here would have regarded yourself at one point to be disconnected from your body? Just put a wee D in the chat. Watch these numbers. I probably would count 30 odd numbers. Put me in the chat. Disconnected. Yes. Yes. Do all of us have the same experiences for that disconnection? How many of us come from trauma, have experienced a lot of ACEs? Just put, yeah, you go to your head, so yeah, absolutely. Put an A if you've experienced ACEs. Look, we don't have all of the ACEs, but look, a lot of us, yes. How many of us came from a mature family or low effort in family? Probably meant the best, but actually didn't have the tools. Low effort on one side. Yes, yes, Damien. Not necessarily ACEs, or sorry, not necessarily trauma, but low effort. Difficult parents, maybe immature in themselves. Yes, very immature and low effort. And this is where this disparity we're only looking at trauma for disunity. No, we're not. We're not only looking at clients who've experienced the wildest of trauma that are disconnected. What we understand is that in culture after culture, that we are only really beginning to understand emotion as the gateway, and emotion as important as the bloody blood that runs through our veins. We're only really understanding that now. And what I'm saying here is that when we're thinking about our clients, those clients that come from, maybe not ACEs, but maybe come from low effort families, come from lack of emotional intelligence, come from, situations where there's an emotional immaturity. Yeah. When our clients are coming from that, they are as equally possible. They are as equally possible of disembodiment as those that are in hiatus. The disembodiment does not discriminate. If it is unsafe, it is unsafe. And it is better to be in my head than it would ever be in my body. And if that unsafety, for whatever reason, is experienced in the formative years, or maybe even in the teenage years, which can happen too, you can have nice formative years and have a big experience in the teenage years and decide this isn't safe for me to be in here. But at some points, people have decided that it's not safe. And then when we think about disunity, we're thinking about the various levels of disunity. Because it's not just a one size fits all. Disunified to some things, unified to something. It's a pick and mix. So it's not either switched on or switched off. So what I'm really trying to get to is, if that has happened and there is disunity, general disunity or specific, it doesn't matter, but if there's disunity, then what we're asking clients to do in embodiment, firstly, is near on impossible. It's nearly impossible. And there's 33 gorgeous practitioners here in this sitting. And and none of us are the same, and none of us are coming from the same environments, and none of us have the same story. It's all phenomenological and in nature. But what we're asking clients to embody is, we're asking them to be able to embody with this, first of all, safety. They need safety, right? They need safety to be able to embody. We're going to get into the detail of this. They need awareness, which is levels of unity. They need to be able to process, and they need to be able to return to a sense of equilibrium. So this is what we call SAPS process. Think about it yourself. I can create safety in myself and bring in emotion and awareness. I can process that emotion with clarity. And I can return from that emotion to a sense of equilibrium, and one in which I can move forward with my whatever's happening. That's what safe embodiment looks like, that beautiful curve. To have safety, to allow awareness, to move through process, to return to safety and equilibrium. That's what it is. It's that beautiful rise and fall. We are asking our clients to embody in that beautiful, safe way, coming from very, very, very unique experiences of emotion. And so the first question, the first thing that I want you to really understand is, can my client move through that process with ease, return to equilibrium and safety, And can I be safe in them moving through that process? So we've had all of these different types of clients for different reasons. We're asking them to return to their body. I want you to say to yourself, can my client return to their body in a way that follows that beautiful curve and leaves them back in equilibrium? Can they know themselves to be sovereign in their body? Can they believe in themselves? Can they control their emotions? Do they know that no harm will come to them? This SAPS process. That is what safe embodiment does. If you're to put a client through that process, the first thing that you have to do is assess whether they can move through it. How many of your clients can actually move through it? I know, Emily, I see your wee, no, no, no. How many of them? Give me a percentage and I'll put up the wee graphic. Just so we get a wee visual. %30 of them, Lydia. Yeah. 1, 5, 1, Damien. Yeah. 10%, 15%. Yeah. Those percentages reflect, I'm just trying to find the graphic for you. Those percentages kind of reflect what I've come to see myself, not without incredible work. I'll just take it. Okay. Liz, 20 for you. Mary, 20 for you. Sue, none for you. It's interesting, isn't it? So it's just a little graphic that speaks to that process that we're asking. I think this is a great tool. It really is a great tool for us to really ask the question, does my client have the safety? Do they have the capacity and awareness? Do they have the capacity to process? And do they have the capacity to return to safety? Not only in this room, but when they're on their own. When they're able to process their own emotions in the room. Beautiful. And they have the safety of you. Gorgeous. But what happens when they leave the room? What happens when they don't have the sanctity of the relationship? What you really want here is to be able to build this capacity in your client where they can have the safety of self, because that's what it's about, safety of self, to bring the capacity for awareness, which is the first facet of introception, to allow all the capacities of introception to be processed through the body, and to bring back into a state or capacity or sense of equilibrium, or the capacity for equilibrium, so they can get on with their lives. And if your clients don't have that capacity, then we need to slow down the therapeutic process. We cannot be asking them questions, deep questions about their past, if they don't have the capacity to hold those questions in their body and process them safely. So this wee tiny tool is just for use. Tell me what you think of it in the chat. Just for it's a quick way for you to say, do they have the safety? Can they access their body? Can they process this? Can they get out the other end with equilibrium? And how much do I need to put in place for them to do that? How much work is there in allowing this process? Tell me what you think about that. Because that tiny tool will it'll save you a lifetime of heartache. It will save you from ever re-traumatising anybody. It'll save you from, endlessly cycling in the same stories. Yeah. It brings clarity. Good. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, Carol. not initially, but after working towards safety within themselves. So this is a really important point. Safety within themselves is what? Because this is where nervous system regulation in and of itself is not enough. Nervous system regulation in and of itself does not create interoceptive capacity. It's a different toolbox. Now, you do need the two, but I love that, right? It's great, and I want to know how to do each stage. Brilliant, Sarah. So let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about that. Okay. So, Miranda, this is useful. My question is, how will you know when a client has reached their successful capacity? They're not able to move beyond that. They're not able to process. So let's take each part in play and break it down a wee bit, right? And then what I want you to do, I want to do for you, is I want to play a little video at the end where you can hear somebody in process. You can hear somebody safely processing some of the most difficult emotions. Now, it's a hard lesson, but it's incredible because the amount of safety in that client and the amount of safety that I felt in me allows for this exact process of rising and fall. This exact process of safety, awareness, process, and safety, return to equilibrium. So I want to show you that at the end, but let's move through this. Okay, so when we look at safety, really the first facets of safety, right, are really, when we're talking about clients and us, the first facets of safety, that first S, is really about our relationship with ourselves. We know from polyvagal theory that our nervous systems communicate. We know this. We know that our clients will feel our safety and our capacities for safety. We know that. And whether we're safe in ourselves and whether we're not panicking about the client will not feel safe if you don't feel safe. So the first safety mechanism there really is about your own, who you are as a practitioner and how safe you are and how well regulated you are. And then the second safety really is about their safety in relationship with you. Now think about this, right? I could do 2 hours on this alone. So I'm going to skim the surfaces of this, like really skim it. If some of this disunity has happened in relationship, then unity has to be in quality relationship for it to return. Or unity will only return in quality relationship. What is quality relationship? Therapeutic quality relationship, which basically means the conditions. Do we have the conditions therapeutically for this unity to occur? Why? Because how many times, yes, Sue, yes, the feelings of safety with you, how many times were they ridiculed for big emotions? How many times were they shamed? How many times were they rejected? How many times were they blamed? The risk a client takes with a background in trauma and a background in poor relational regulation, the risk a client takes every single day to share their inner world with you is humongous. It's where the unity got thwarted in relationship. It's where the unity wasn't allowed. It's where the connection to their body wasn't safe in relationship. And now they're in relationship with you. So not only is your nervous system really important, but the conditions therapeutically that you set, incredibly important. And the client is second guessing that constantly. So when we understand safe, I mean, I could talk for hours about this. We're going to have to skip over it because how does that feel to you? Does that make sense to you? And anybody's person-centered is going to be rolling their eyes and going, of course, of course. So conditions. I'm just check in the chat if you want to let me know how you do it. Yeah. Safety is also the client's relationship with themselves. Think about that. Your risk assessment moment for moment, Siobhan. Absolutely. The first S is also about their relationship with themselves, which is yet to unfold. They don't know how they treat themselves in difficult emotion. They don't know if they won't attack themselves or shame themselves or wound themselves, because very often we do what was done. Our mothers and fathers and our caregivers may be long gone, but the imprint of how they treated us is left in ourselves, and we often do what was done. So when we invite a client into their body, they're asking, is it safe to be in my body with you? Do I trust you enough to hold this and not do what was done? Can I take the risk? And can I take the risk to take this journey with me? Because I know what I can do to myself. One question for everybody here. How do you treat yourself in difficult emotion? How do you treat you? Are you good at it? And those of you that have been through my training, don't answer. Teresa O'Hare, I see you getting ready to answer. Because you're good at it at this stage. Yeah, I mean, obviously. How do you treat yourself? Can you trust yourself to create the safe conditions within yourself, the compassion, the soft place to fall, to be able to start this process of embodiment? Oh, I love that, Jules. You're so good. Only when alone, not when you're around other people because of the relational trauma history. Absolutely, Jules. I love that. And I can really relate. I did all my therapeutic work myself because I was wounded so badly in relationship. And I couldn't find a therapist to mimic, to be in the phenomenological data that I needed. So I can understand that. That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, you still get caught in the panic, Paulina. Absolutely. Sarah, it's new to me from the training, but I'm learning to self-soothe. Yes, rather than catastrophize and doom. There it is. You're learning. You see, that's a process. I go into myself and I shut others out. Beautiful. This is so gorgeous. Oh, beautiful. Hey, to self, hey, you're okay. You've got this far. That's self-talk. That's self-soothe. So you're building that relationship. Isn't that just gorgeous? It's just beautiful. Look, we haven't even got out of the park. We're not even embodied yet. And we're asking all these gorgeous questions about the conditions for embodiment. Now you think about what we're taught or what is spouted in the world of trauma is just be in the body. How does that feel in the body? That's a massive question. It's a massive question for somebody who's out of their body. It's a massive question for somebody who doesn't trust to be in their own body, doesn't trust how they'll process. It's a massive question for somebody who feels that they're going to be threatened by the person who's asking the question, how does it be in your body? It negates all of the reasons for the disembodiment. Big questions like, where is that in your body? Assumes that there's safety, assumes that there's relational depth, assumes that there's self-safety, assumes so much. And what I want you to really understand, really, really, really understand, is where that client is coming from and the tug and the pull, right? The tug and the pull, the reality of can I, can't I, will I, won't I, is it safe, is it not, how will I be able to, that is often unconscious. It's not even conscious to the client. For me, I lived a life of positive psychology. I bypassed every single thing in my body because I had to. Yes, If you're a real head person, they have no idea where the body is. Yes, Luna, no idea. This brings us on to the second part, right? Because if those conditions weren't in place for the child or the young adult, then no, I'm going to stay in my head, of course. This brings us on to capacity, the second part, which is awareness. Awareness is the first facet of interoception. Watch what's going to happen in the field. The field is alive with interoception as the next step in trauma treatment. Right? It's bubbling, you can hear it, hear it bubbling up. Interoception. Right? I talk about interoception today. I'm blue in the fist. Anybody that's done my courses will be saying, here we go again, right? But rightly so. Interoception, the most important thing. The first facet of interoception is awareness. What does awareness mean? Awareness means, can my mind connect to my body? That's as simple as it gets. That first facet is the first thing severed in trauma. My mind doesn't want to be close to this body. Thank you very much. I'll stay up here. I stayed in my head for about 15 years non-stop. Running away from whatever was in it. I wasn't even sure what was in the body. I couldn't even name what was in the body. But I knew that wasn't a safe place. So awareness, the awareness of the body. And yes, Miranda, for 8 years. Yes, I know. I listen. And I think because I have this lived experience of trauma, it makes me sound like a maniac, like this passionate maniac. And I know what I sound like. I'm this huge advocate because I have a training on it, a future PhD in it, which is coming. And I also have a lived experience of it. And so I have this kind of dual passion. But it's so important. Interoception, the first facet of interoception. How many of your clients have the first facet of interoception? Can actually bring awareness. And what are they bringing awareness to? The first facet of interoception is often not there for most trauma clients. And yet the first question that we're taught to ask as therapists is, where do you feel it? Those two things don't go together. They just don't go together. And then what happens if the primary pain of that client is not enoughness? You're asking them to do something that they actually don't have the actual capacity. So safety, awareness. Does the client have the capacity? Now, we're going to get into the weeds a wee bit, right? So I don't know, will we get into the weeds? Will we get into the weeds or not? What do you think? I'm going to regret this, Damien. I saw your yes before it even hit the chat. Right, okay. If someone has been out of their body, out of awareness, out of the first facet, away from their body, and we reunify them through practice, or we reunify them in our sessions, there is a massive risk that we flood the nervous system in the reunification. There is a massive risk that if we don't have the appropriate safety tools, that a client can move from disunity to unity and flood the nervous system, and the nervous system can feel completely unsafe about this new unity. Has anybody ever experienced that themselves? Because I have. I went from disunified to unified and completely flooded my nervous system. The nervous system could not cope with the interoceptive facets that it was experiencing. Tell me in the chat. Yeah. Yes, Jules. Yeah. Yes, and had clients experience it too, Cara. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is why we talk about safe embodiment. Safe embodiment as those 4 steps. We would never reunify anybody that can't process and return to equilibrium. Did you really see that? We'd never reunify somebody that can't complete the system. And then you have to work at completing the system. Horrific. My experience of that, my experience of reunification, is why I am an absolute advocate of safe embodiment. You know, there's many hills I die on, but safe embodiment is one. I was obviously traumatized as a child. Well, there's no doubt about it, all of those ACEs, and the re-experiencing of all of those ACEs was one thing. Out of context was really difficult because I didn't understand what it was. But to re-experience it with the birth of a newborn baby. I had a newborn baby in my hands, and I was basically unified, and a nervous system that couldn't cope. It was not coping with a child. It was nothing to do with a child. It was everything to do with what was happening inside me. Once I was available for love and him, I was available for it all. That non-awareness or that disconnection, once I was connected, that was game over. It was all or nothing. It literally was. So we have to be aware that if somebody's disunified and even the conditions for safety is met, and we bring them back into this awareness of their body, then we need the proper safety tools to be able to help the client in that window of, or gain a window of tolerance. Safety is the first thing here. Does that make sense to you? So just because a client is disunified and we bring them into awareness, it's not like one skill. We call those unity skills. So we call bringing a client from out of their head and into their body a unity skill. And then what we say is every unity skill needs a safety skill. You can't have a unity skill without a safety skill. Those two need to run alongside each other so that you can pick and choose. If you unify, then you return to safety, creating capacity. Does that make sense? So we run these kind of safety and unity skills together. Now, that brings me on to what are you reunifying? When you invite a client and the awareness, yeah, safety awareness, when you unify a client, what are you unifying them to? This is what we call a hierarchy of embodiment. Jules, you will have heard me talk about this in endless detail. The hierarchy of embodiment. Not all emotion is made equally. Not all. Yeah, are we embodying them to secondary pain? Are we embodying them to primary pain? This is really, really important because that will depend on the amount of safety skills that you need. What are you bringing awareness to? In most of your clients, what are you bringing awareness to? Because see if you're bringing awareness to primary pain, or limbic pain, which is the origins of the trauma, then you had better have every safety skill in the book. If you're bringing awareness to that in the body, then you're inviting that adult back to the child's consciousness, both in mind and body. And possibly the nervous system response that was part of that original experience. So when we talk about awareness, we talk about unity. Can the client bring their mind and body together? Beautiful. And if they can, and we begin a reunification process, how much regulation in the nervous system is there? Do we need to do safety work? And what are we reunifying them to? And if a client is completely disunified, do you see how you might build up awareness? That you won't go for the jugular first. You don't go for the big stuff. You go for the tiny stuff. You build and build and build unity capacity. And you might be in awareness work for a while. But you'll be there contractually, safely. Your nervous system is settled because you know exactly where you are. It's beautiful work. Does everybody hear the importance of that awareness work? And the way that we titrate it and the way the skills that we need for it. But what we're saying is awareness is nothing can be done without safety and awareness. These stacking on top of each other. Does that feel all right to you? We're kind of halfway there. Any questions on that? Anything you want me to clarify? No, everybody all right? All right, Damon? Okay. So saying we do all of that work, then the next piece of work is process, which is like some chat GBT madness. So I asked chat GBT, my best friend, if it could give our beautiful group a little bit of information on process and emotion. Yeah. And here is its answer. The short answer: the bodily wave of an emotion rises in seconds and usually falls within a minute or two, often quoted as 90 seconds. So the science tells us, and it gives you the reference, that it can take 90 seconds for an emotion to process through the body. So that's what the science tells us, right? I beg to differ. You ever been in a room with somebody and seen them move through an emotion and an equilibrium in 90 seconds? I tell you, you're doing well. Why? Because emotions are not processed in a vacuum. What does that mean? To bring awareness, which was our last point, to process an emotion, which is to allow it to arise, to feel all of the interoceptive facets of an emotion. Yeah. To feel all of them, to experience all of them in the relation of the totality of the emotion without the noise of the mind is a very, very, very difficult, hard thing for anybody to do. Is it impossible? No, I wouldn't be sitting here, you wouldn't be sitting here. There's a process to it, but you have to understand the process. So we go back to the premise of our conversation today, or me ranting and raving today, is that embodiment, embodiment, embodiment. Yes, embodiment safely. Yes, safely. Safety first, awareness second, process thirdly. Now, what is the complexities of process? And emotion does not rise and fall in 90 seconds. It depends on the type of emotion, it depends on the depth, it depends on its interoceptive facets, it depends on what we call the metadata around it. And so, whilst that science is probably neurobiologically true, it is not phenomenologically true, which means the lived experience of that is very different for every person. And we can have this science, but if we're not phenomenologically focused, then we won't understand the difficulties. Yes, Paulina, we won't understand the difficulties that are occurring. We're in our minds, we're thinking, oh, this should just rise and fall in 90 seconds. And in the reality, it's very different. So let's just spend 2 seconds looking at the facets of interoception with the view of process, right? So an emotion has to process in 90 seconds. So let's look at, is everybody okay with that? We look at the facets of interoception through this lens. Everybody okay? Have I complicated this, or are we all right? We okay? Damon, are we okay? Okay. Sue says yes. I'm going to take your word for it, Sue. Right. Share. All right. Now, you'll notice attention, detection are the first 2 facets of awareness. How intense is it? is magnitude. So, you know, what's the intensity of this will depend on if this is origin primary pain stuff. In order to process, we need to bring attention, we need to consciously report. So the therapist or the client needs to say, I feel this in my body. It's really, really, really intense. I can localize it to a particular channel. I can localize it to, say, my heart or my stomach. And it's not the same sort of heartache that I would have felt when, you know, me and my boyfriend split up. It's different. They differentiate. You see that discrimination, differentiation? This is all part of the rise and fall. And I can give you with accuracy and sensitivity, you know, its movement, its scale, its process in my body. We are asking a client to process through the body with this depth. We're not even going to look at self-reporting because it's too complicated at this time. We will in a wee minute. If that is the totality of the experience within, can we see the complexities of the process? The P in the process. If that is overwhelming, if that is too great, if that is too big, if there's too much data, too much body data for somebody who's just getting used to being in their body, do you see how that process will get jarred? And a client will get stuck in that process. Jules, you're nodding. You see that? Yeah. Has anybody ever experienced getting jarred in that process? Trying to bring an emotion in, Jules, you're nodding. Yes, Sarah. Yes. Yes. Because the information, the interoceptive facets are alive with data, pummeling, which is what self-reporting is. This is the neurobiology of it, giving information up to the head. So if we are, as practitioners, taught that the science says it's a 90-second rise and fall, but does not understand the depth of the emotion we're processing, doesn't understand the totality of it, doesn't understand the safety or how difficult the nervous system is, then that process has a potential to get jarred. That's where the re-traumatisation happens, because the client can't get out of it, don't know what to do, gets overwhelmed by it, gets locked into the process. Anybody ever seen that in action? I know some of you are saying they have felt that. That's what a lot of clients call looping. They're stuck in a loop and they can't get out. It actually turns my stomach. I remember getting caught in loops, and ferocious. They're ferocious. Yes. So that's why the P part, brilliant. Dorsal won't even let you go near them. Yeah. So you could, there's the safety, you know, there's the safety element of this, Paulina. You would have to go back and do a lot of safety work in order to be able to process that emotion that you're trying to process. A lot of regulation work, a lot of capacity work before you would even be invited to anything into your body to rise and fall. I love your questions, really good, really personal, brilliant. So the idea of process, yes, we get the neurobiological science, but what I'm saying to you is please be aware of the phenomenological understanding of your client's process. How much data, how much interoceptive data, how intense do they feel it? What are you trying to process? If you're trying to process primary pain or limbic pain, and what I mean by limbic pain is primary pain, it's this depth of experience that, you know, normally has with it huge nervous system activation, then it is likely that rise and fall doesn't happen in the way that you would like it, or in the way that you're anticipating it from a scientific perspective, because phenomenologically there's far too much going on. What do we need? We need safety. We need regulation techniques. We need better unity skills. We need to know how to slow the process of unity down. We need to know how to build up and titrate towards certain emotions. We need a body of unity and safety skills to help the processing of this through. We don't need any babies getting stuck in the birth canal. We don't need any surgeries. We don't need to traumatize anybody. Because what will happen if we don't measure the safety, if we don't measure the capacity for awareness, we don't measure what they need to process, we don't look or understand that, we can invite. There's a quote that I put up. I'm going to read it to you because I think it's very important for this. There's a thing that I wrote, and I wrote this: it's not about whether your client wants to do the work, it's about their capacity to connect it. Think about that. Every client comes willing. Well, most clients come willing. They want to do the work, right? It depends their stage of process, but they want to do the work. But not everybody has the capacity to do the work. Capacity and willingness are two different things. This whole wee workshop is about capacity. The capacity for safety, the capacity for awareness, the capacity for process, because all of those things will then lead. Yes, Miranda, the capacity to carry, exactly, because all of those things will lead then towards the capacity for equilibrium, which means they don't carry, Miranda. They can complete the process and return to a sense of equilibrium. That's what safe embodiment looks like. And there are many pitfalls, and it's not that I'm trying to scaremonger about pitfalls, but having lived that experience myself and understanding that if I had had somebody who understood this, I wouldn't have been half as traumatized about my rebirthing. Now, what does that mean? It means that I lived for about, I don't know, time frames, so many years, right? From about, I think about 15 through to about 25, 10 years, maybe longer at the other end. Disembodied, out of my body, in my mind, running the pseudo positivity game, right? Creating all things, great things, incredible things. And to be brought back into my body under such painful conditions, I call that birthing. I birthed the child, and I birthed all the trauma at the same time, all of those aces. Had I had somebody that understood this process, that understood what was happening, if I had had somebody slow me right down, bring unity, not concentrate on unity, because I already had unity, concentrate on safety, concentrate on process, I wouldn't have had the re-traumatization that I'd had. I didn't have it at anybody else's hands. I had it at my own because I was just forced into unity. We do not want to force people into unity because the answers are in the body. The science tells us the body keeps a score. That is absolutely, unequivocally, I know that to be true. We are proving that again inside the PhD. I know that to be true. I know it to be true for me and all the clients that I've ever worked with and all the data we collect. I know that's true. But just because it's true doesn't make it safe. Just because it's true doesn't make it easy. Just because it's true doesn't mean that there's a process to it and that we have to be very careful about that process, and that process isn't just about nervous system regulation. That there's a body of stuff that we have to work. So what does the S at the other end stand for? The S at the other end is returning to a sense of safety. What is the sense of safety? That I have moved through this emotion, that I have processed, that I have understood it, and I come back to a regulation in myself, and I come back to this emotion not being in my body now. When an emotion is not in the body, what you can do is that you can take in all of the current stimuli. You can project and in a really healthy way, and you can project into the future safety. I'm going to ask you this one question, and I want you to answer me from a personal perspective. How many times have you had a really difficult emotion that you felt that you were like it was nearly endless? And how many times did you project it into the future? and say, I hope I need this gone by then, or what if I feel like this during this time, or what if I never get out of this, or what if. How many of you have played the what if games when you were trapped in an emotion? Often, yeah. Yeah, it's okay to build from scratch, Miranda. It's necessary to build from scratch. Beautiful. Look at that. Very familiar. That is the projection of an emotion that you do not feel safe with. There it is. Yep. That is the projection of an emotion that has not reached safe embodiment. And that is terrifying. You can't count how many times, Emily. Absolutely. That is the mind's job. If the mind doesn't feel that it is in sovereignty and agency of an emotion, it will project it into the future and warn you about it. And it'll tell you you're going to feel it here, there, there. That is no equilibrium. That is no safety. That is no sovereignty. That's the final S. Does that make sense, Steve? That's not what you want. You want your client to feel the clarity of it moving, the sovereignty of it having been moved, the control. And this isn't about control in that sense, sovereignty and agency, and knowing that I can get on with my day and this won't disrupt me. And if it comes back, then I can just move it through again. And I'm not afraid of it. And you're building tolerance, you're building capacity, you're building safety, you're building equilibrium, the capacity for equilibrium. And I can tell you, every single human being set in front of you will project into the future when an emotion is unsafe. And if they have that type of projection, there's not enough safety and they won't process it. That, I think, is worse than the emotion, because now your nervous system gets involved in all sorts of predictions about possibilities and futures and all sorts of madness. Actually, I remember it well, makes me actually sick. So, how does that wee SAP system seem to you now? Have we put some meat on the bones? Have we clarified it a wee bit better? Would you like to hear it in action? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to fast forward it because we don't have the time, but we have about a 10-minute window here. So I'm going to let you hear it. And then if anybody has any questions or any comments after, then let me know. It's not an easy listen, guys. So it might be triggering. So just a wee bit of a trigger warning, and make sure that you're safe. That you're able to regulate yourself, or you're able to take yourself off if you need to, and you're able to look after yourself, and you're able to actually process what you're hearing in an effective, safe way. So this is a little video of a client who's very willing. So I'll play it to you from the beginning. So she shows up incredibly willing, right? She's been thinking about it all week. She knows where she's going. She knows what she's doing. She's going. And it's kind of quite jovial. So we began the session with this jovial kind of, all right, where are we going today? We're going here. This bit of jovial conversation. Then we move into the heart of what can only be described as awareness. So the safety is obviously there. She moves into awareness through her body, and you have to see her giving you interoceptive data. So she's just giving interoceptive data, like clean as anything. And then what you see, and in around 90 minutes, so I'll have to fasten it up, is her, as she's deepening into this, under your body, you see her getting stuck in process. And then you see her moving through that stuckness to process at the other end. So it's like a masterclass on safe embodiment. And I just have to fast forward it a wee bit for let you hear, and then I want to hear what you think about after. Is that all right? Everybody ready? Everybody okay? So
like,
You hear?
what's the word I'm looking for? So I'm kind of ready to go into this, but there's also this hesitance of it because like I know where I am at the moment emotionally. It's gonna be heavy, but it's good. At the same time, it's so like I'm just kind of at this middle bit where I'm like, okay, I'm on the edge of the wound, like I'm very close to it, and there's like a want to go to it and explore, and but there's also this kind of so that's where I am at the moment with it.
Everybody hear that as clear as day. I'm at the edge of the wound. How many of you have been at the edge? I want to go there, but I'm like, oh, do I really want to go there? And we're kind of jovial and laughing, and I'm like, oh God, where are we going? That was within the first 2 seconds of the meeting. So I'm thinking, okay, she's going to try and explore this today. She's going to try and bring awareness. Even the safety for her to say, I want to, but I don't know if I can. Oh, what? I can't. No expectation that I'm going to push her. This is after about 1.5 years of work. So she's no expectation that I'm going to do anything with her. So she feels really comfortable to say, I'm at the age of something. I don't know if I'm going to go there, but I want to go there. What do you? So you see that inherent relational safety show up, yeah, and you see the resistance show up. So she's starting to say, I don't know. Beautiful resistance. She doesn't know she's going to bring her full awareness. So she's not on awareness, she's on the edge of awareness, communicating the relational safety, telling me she's going to go there, but she doesn't know if she wants to. Everybody happy enough? First, that's the first part of safe embodiment in action. Everybody happy enough? Okay, we're going to fast forward. I'm going to hear right, and the wound is the wound of disgust in. And we're going to hear touch the top of this wound. Introceptively, bring awareness to it in our body. Everybody happy about what we're about to hear? So we're about to hear awareness in action. Everybody okay?
Like I'm looking for a parent to soothe it, and there is none. And so it's like if you go to hurt,
there's nobody to soothe it.
There's no one to soothe it, and that takes me to emptiness.
There we go. There.
That like so like hurt is yeah, it's like in my chest, and it's
you're alone in the hurt, and that brings you to emptiness.
Yeah. And there's like a pulling down into my belly, which feels quite hollow and empty, and makes me a bit bloated and breathless, and it just feels here like again I don't matter, and I'm this is where all that stuff about unwanted comes, and unlovable, and
what is it that makes you feel that you don't matter? Is it the
Did everybody hear, even for those just few seconds, did you hear her bringing awareness? Did you hear the depths of introception that she was bringing awareness to? Would you be able to reiterate what she said? Could you write it in the chat for me? Do you remember the facets of introception? I'm just asking, did you see it? It's not a test by any means. I'm really interested. Do you see if you heard it? It was hollow, yeah. Hollow, empty. It's in my chest. Did you hear her describe it in her body and the movement in her body? Pulsing in her stomach. She's identified the wound, yeah. Empty, hollow, bloated, breathless, bloated, yeah. Pulling down in the belly, yeah. These are all of the interoceptive facets. She's doing a great job in awareness. Everybody see her fully in awareness? And then right at the end, did you see her getting all the metadata? Metadata is the mind data. Not mattering. Not enough. So all of these sensations, empty, heavy chest, pulling feeling. Yes, she's in awareness. There's no doubt. Everybody happy enough? She's in the fullness of that awareness, given all of this information. This fluid in her, rising in her, and she's able to follow it. You can hear the tenderness. You see the difference in her voice from the beginning, jovial, let's go here, where, and 9, this is about, I fast forwarded into about 10 minutes. So in 10 minutes, she's right in the body. Do you see how she's in the body? You hear her voice when she's in her body. Did you hear her voice when she gave you metadata? Did you hear the clarity of her voice? It was different. She's in her body, and then she starts talking about not being wanted. That's the metadata. That's her giving meaning in the mind. So she's kind of circling between this bottom up, top down approach. Does everybody see that? Would you like to listen to it again, just to hear it? Or are you happy to move forward? Tell me what you want to do. She's not unsure, Damien. She's just really tentative. But that's not an unsureness. It's a real kind of, oh, I feel, she's reporting first facets. Again, hear it again, okay? She's first facets. She's bringing awareness, self-reporting. It's very new to her. This is the place that she wanted to go. So unsurety, I don't know if might be the word, don't know. We could split hairs again about it, but it's tentative. In early days, and something that she hasn't explored quite yet, and she's very tender with it. Do you hear it? And her voice, there's pain and weariness, absolutely. Isn't it glorious to hear? We're so privileged to be able to hear that. She is a darling. She is, she's a practitioner of this, and she signed all of this over for you guys to be trained on. She's just incredible. So we hear it again, just in that context of the awareness. Oh, come on.
All right.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like, what's the word I'm looking for? So I'm kind of ready to go into this, but
Hear the strength in her voice, right? Okay. And as we ascend under the wound, listen to her voice changing.
There's nobody to soothe it.
there's no one to soothe it, and that takes me to emptiness.
There we go. There we go. There.
And that, like, so like her is, yeah, it's like in my chest, and it's.
You're alone in the hurt, and that brings you to emptiness.
Yeah. And there's like a pulling down into my belly, which feels quite hollow and empty, and makes me a bit bloated and breathless, and it just feels here like, again, I don't matter, and this is where all that.
So she dipped under the interoceptive awareness, came back up, and the meta went under your mind. Everybody see that? Clear as day. Happy enough? So that's her bringing awareness. She's basically talking about a depth of process in her, and she's talking about a depth of process, but she knows there's something deeper. So I'll let you play as she's starting to process it at a deeper level, what happens.
I've got. I lost count. Yeah, I lost count.
Hurt that goes to emptiness, that goes to not being wanted.
Yeah, I've lost count, and When you were talking there, so anxiety moved from solar plex to almost like where my belly button is, and there's a kind of a resistance wall, like there's a wall, if you like, or a solid, and it's kind of like holding me there now. So it's like I've moved down with it, but there's more resistance there. There's something under that, something that my fear doesn't want me to connect to, but it's interesting to kind of see it moving down a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. It's moving down a little bit more.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it brings a bit of like a bit of nausea, bit of a yeah, it brings that kind of feeling like I want to retch. I know I've mentioned this recently, where I'm still kind of getting to know empty and emptiness, but the somatic sensation of it, the breathlessness, the nausea, feeling it's almost like feeling disgust, or like disgusted in myself.
Did everybody hear what happened? She's moved from being unwanted, meta, the deeper sensation in the body. She's deepening into it. It's a nauseating feeling. And that nauseating feeling now is showing a disgust. Did everybody see that she wasn't able to process it? She was saying, there's resistance here. There's something below this, but there's resistance. That's process in action. I can't complete this because I'm resistant in here. That's process in action, right? She's moving through something that's not yet complete. It's not the full picture. Not mattering's not the full picture here. There's something deeper. Our body's giving her data. Now it's nausea and now it's disgust. Does everybody see that? And we have this beautiful fluidity of process that she moves in and out. Now I fast forwarded to 20 minutes there. So because those three pieces give you a glimpse into what it's like to safely embody. I'm not scared at all. I'm also not pushing her beyond that resistance. There's a wall of resistance. Did everybody hear that? I didn't push her past it. I just sat in silence and waited to see Willer. She had the capacity to go beyond it. There's a few times that I'm regulating relationship by just letting her hear herself. Nothing more, nothing less. At this point, there is no need for any regulation tools. There's no need for any safety tools because she's not unsafe. She's just in process. And that is how that entire process goes until she deepens into the idea that she internalized disgust. And disgust is deep in this pit of her stomach, and she breaks down crying. She's sobbing. By the end of that session, she has regulated, she has come out, she's in equilibrium, and she is back, not jovial, but she's back communicating and in conversation with me. And that was the process of safe embodiment in action. How did it feel to see those little aspects? What are you thinking? Tell me in the chat. What are you thinking? Good, Jules. Yes. Should make you feel hopeful. There is a way. Very slow, gentle way. In a way that shouldn't compromise you. Yeah. I think at some point in this, yes, Nausea is a sign of dorsal. She's moving to dorsal. Yeah. Yes, her safety is very, very important. I wasn't pushing her anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, she already has agency, doesn't she, Andrea? You can hear her agency. She trusts herself because this isn't her first rodeo. This isn't her first wound. So she knows the process and she trusts me in the process. Yeah. Lovely, Fiona. Yeah. So helpful to connect the specific components of safe embodiment to actual examples, isn't it, Lydia? If only they had that when you were training, Lydia. Hey, after the fact, did you? Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Lovely. Really good. Yeah, you can hear the process, Carly, can't you? Yeah, I know. I know. At the end, I think she says, I don't know if I'll be able to capture it, so I don't want to go looking, but at the end of that session, she says, she says, she moves through disgust and she's in the heart of disgust and she talks about it and she says how similar it was to her previous wound that she'd worked through, but the clarity that she has and the regulation she has and the hope for the future, and that's equilibrium. That's her out the other end in safety, in sovereignty, and in agency. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's a beautiful lesson. She's an absolute star, and her process is an absolute incredible process to be available to. So this idea of safe embodiment, you've just seen it in action. You've just seen the process of it. And, you know, this client had really bad eczema that all cleared up, bad eating disorder that stopped, you know, from this inner work, all that secondary pain that she was experiencing, all was cleared up. But none of that, none of the getting to the wound is possible without the safety of embodiment. And you can have all of the information about trauma you want, and you can understand it lies in the body, and you can understand it lies in the limbic system. You can have all the theoretical underpinnings that, and I know in INCORE we teach a different way. We teach differently about what trauma does. But in essence, it's all leading towards the same big experiences that are held in the body. It doesn't, you know, there's many roads to it, many theoretical frameworks. But you can't get there unless you create safety and unless you create that process that we talked about tonight, unless you've created that SAPS. You continue to create that SAPS on a continued basis. What are you actually doing? Not just from a wounding perspective, but what you're actually doing is you're actually undoing what was done, and you're giving somebody back the capacity to regulate themselves and the capacity to be in their body where the answers are. And you're undoing the damage that was done in the early days. That's what safe embodiment's doing. So we can talk about therapy, right? All we want about getting to root cause and getting to core. But for some of our clients, they just want to be able to live in peace with their bodies. Maybe they don't want to get to root cause. They just want to be able to process this stuff in an effective way that doesn't re-traumatize them. And for me, safe embodiment is about that. It's about capacity. It's about unity. It's about safety. It's about the process of being in the body as safely as you can. And that's why I do these things. How does that feel, Lise? Any questions before we wrap up? Yes, Lydia. Some clients might act, talk, appear ready, safer to go deeper when touching the wound and get freaked out. 100%. So that's when they masquerade. They masquerade as embodied, or they masquerade as knowledge, and they masquerade as being trauma informed. And you think they're embodied, which is where, thank you for that reminder, Lydia. Your assessment tools are vital. Your assessment tools are safeties or stages of process tools, awareness tools. You have a load of safe awareness tools that you have to bring to a client so that you know that you'll not deepen too quick or too fast, no matter what they say. She said, I'm ready. It's a year and a half after working with her. I didn't believe for 1 second she was ready. I'm like, well, let's just see how this goes. Let's follow the rise and fall of it. and know they bring in regulation as possible. Was that helpful to you tonight? I know that a lot of you have come to my other workshops. Was that helpful? Did it add anything to your... Good, Carol, I'm delighted. Good. Good, Miranda, good. Thank you, good. Good, Damien, I'm delighted. Yes. Good. Great stuff. Anybody, any questions? Yeah. Hearing the example is really lovely, isn't it, Jules? Anybody, any clarifying questions whatsoever? Because we're done now, we're finished. Yeah. Yes, Sarah, the safe embodiment course, thanks for the question. Yes, it does, Andrea. It brings a sense of courage to the clients. We have a safe embodiment course, guys. You all know this. This isn't about the safe embodiment course per se, but it helps us frame it. We have a safe embodiment course that I would encourage every single human being alive to take, not just therapists, because it helps you understand this process of SAPs really well. Gives you all the skills, all the tools. We are giving a coupon to everybody that is registered for this for 40% off that safe embodiment course. I'm not going to go on to a big sales pitch because that's not what this is about tonight, but I appreciate your question. Thank you, Miles. So I know, Sarah, and I appreciate you asking, so I'm answering. But what we were going to do at the end of this class was give you a 40% off for that course. Now, I know some of you have already bought it at the higher price, and I'm sorry, but we are giving 40% off to anybody that has signed up for this, so sorry. It'll be in your email. So there's a wee 40% off coupon. If you want to join us, you can get started tonight if you want to get started in that safe embodiment course. I think it takes, Leona, does it take the price of it down to £270 or something like that?
Yeah, 269 or something like that. It brings it down to.
So it brings the price away down to 269. You are more than welcome to join us in that cohort. The way that it works, just so that you're clear, is that it's pre-recorded materials waiting on you, right? So you can sign up for it now and join it, and then you come to workshops with me. So, and the workshops are like every Wednesday evening, and you pick your workshops according to your own schedule. So it's not like you have to show up live and be there live. You come to the workshops and we integrate the material, and it's a beautiful way of teaching. I love it. Some of you are on it. Fiona, you're on. Who's on it? Who's on it? Liz is on it, and Mary's on it. There's a load of yous on it, and Fiona's on it. So there's a load of these are on it that know it. So for anybody that's interested, there's a wee email with that percentage coupon. I think we have a 48-hour coupon on it. We might see on the inside. Yes, it does. Siobhan, it adds and deepens to the specificity and uniqueness of the experience. Do you like the graph, Siobhan? I'm delighted with myself. These are the things that just, you've been doing it for such a long time, then it appears to you that actually this is just a really easy way, because the whole course is taught in that way. And then it appears to you then there's just an overarching framework that should have been in a graph a long time ago. All right, my dears, it's 9 o'clock. It's Monday night. Thank you all so much for your love and kind and attention as usual. We have a major masterclass next Monday, which gets into all of it's kind of for people who've never come across my work before. You're more than welcome to come, but it might bore you, but you're more than welcome to come. It's kind of people who've never heard of this stuff before, so we kind of really slow it down. It'll be a longer masterclass. You're more than welcome. You'll see anyway some of the emails will be floating about, but it's this with a wider scope and looking at some of the skills that you need. So it's the same material taught differently to a different audience who've never ever heard or seen me before. But you're more than welcome if you want to reiterate what you learned tonight. All right, thanks a million, Liz. See you all soon. Take care for now. All right, much love. See you all soon. Bye. See you, Teresa. Bye. Bye.